Hello, everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Martijn Lofvers. I'm the Chief Trendwatcher of Supply Chain Media. I'm also the Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Movement, European quarterly magazine, and also a huge group on LinkedIn. And I'm also the owner and initiator of the group called Supply Chain Women, and 2,000 plus. And I'm only male member. And the rest is all women and all supply chain professionals. Anyway, so this coming hour, we have a live conversation about closing the AI gender gap in supply chain. And with me, I have Melanie Salter, CEO of Boom. And we'll talk about Boom later. Melanie, you have a supply chain community. And February is AI month, isn't it?
February was AI month, and we had a fantastic session, which I'm sure will turn up. We'll discuss here with speakers from Amazon and Microsoft. So yeah, I'll bring that knowledge into the conversation.
All right. So before we kick in and talk about AI and the gender gap, etc., a few things. This webinar is recorded. The PDF will be made available afterwards within 48 hours. So the audience is on mute, so you can chat. So you see the right-hand function at the moment to chat. But if you want to have a conversation with us, do you want to have questions, please use the Q&A functionality. That's one below. If the questions are in line of the discussion I will be having with Melanie, I will ask these questions right away, to get an interaction. And if this, is not in line, I will use it later on for the Q&A. So we have an extra opportunity afterwards. But Melanie has to leave soon. She has some important meetings. So some VIPs to meet. The former Prime Minister of Australia, isn't it?
Ex-Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard. And I'm
super
excited about it.
Way more important than to chat on with Martijn Lofvers. So that's one thing. So all right.
Too.
Anyway, so all right. So you can sit down with me and maybe Melanie to say hi, and then we'll see it next. All right. Please tell me something about Boom.
So Boom, it's a global community for women in supply chain. I've worked in supply chain for 20 years. My background is actually, I started in software development, which is quite apt for this conversation. That was my very first view of supply chain, I was looking at sawtooth diagrams written in code. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I fell into supply chain, and I was always very much the only woman in the room. And after 20 years, it was my good fortune to come across Boom, which was then being run by Beth Morgan. And it's a wonderful place. It's the place I wish had existed when I was earlier in my career, and I just did not have a network of support. So we're we're global, we're online, we run live and on-demand events. We've got over 1,000 women in, I think, over 65 countries, 70 countries around the world right now. As I was saying to Martijn, I'm a little bit tired because I was doing an APAC webinar very early at stupid o'clock, as my husband would say. Mm-hmm. The community it's cross-industry, it's cross-function, it's the broadest definition of supply chain. And we've got people from all levels of seniority, from entry level to chief supply chain officer. And we've been running for 6 years. So we've got an extraordinary resource library as well, with over 400 articles and pre-recorded interviews, which are all there. And it's a lovely community, and I'm extremely honored to be heading it up now. Yeah. I think that covers it, Martijn.
Yeah, to some extent. But I was curious about, what kind of topics do you address? What are you talking about and how?
Too many. Huge number of supply chain topics, because that's our raison d'etre, as it were. So we, last month was AI, and January we're talking about just what does supply chain look like in 2026, because it's kicked off as it meant to start, right? As it's carried on. Date. I think it was the 3rd of January, when the US went into Venezuela, and it just hasn't really slowed down since then. Nope. So we cover supply chain, we cover professional development, inclusion. We have a whole stream which will be opening up to absolutely everybody in the next few months, looking at how to make supply chains more inclusive, because one of our core values is everyone wins. When everybody's involved and bring their full self to work. And I'm sure we'll cover this again later because it's going to come up. Martijn, everyone wins.
Yeah, but you also covered typical female topics,
Oh, what's a typical female topic, Martijn? Sorry.
Well, some female coming of age, and they have some personal, physical problems, that kind of stuff. That how do you call it? Going to a certain phase.
I think we talk a lot about climbing the career ladder, because you've got the broken rung, which is why you can't get on that first level of the career, management. Then you've got the glass ceiling, you've got the glass cliff. There are so many fabulous words to describe what makes it harder for women in their careers. So we do cover very specific women and the issues many people come across in their careers.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and it will come up probably in the next 60 minutes. So these are example of companies who are a corporate member.
Yes, they are, and we can add in HP and Illumina to that as well, because
so that is a diverse kind of members all around the world.
Yeah, all around the world. I mean, you can see going from, Lance doing pharmaceutical to Estee Lauder with the high-end makeup and Heineken beer. We've got a very diverse, and it's lovely, and that's what's great, is you get that cross-pollination across the community.
If you look at these kind of companies, do you think they are advanced in this kind of topic of diversity because they are a member, or they think they have to catch up?
I think the companies that join Boom, they tend to be slightly more advanced. A lot of them going, we know we want to do better. You've got to that realization. It's like, oh, we understand that there's this inequality. How can we help it? Well, Boom is a way to help support them, and they do it across many different areas. We're just one area of inclusion that most of these companies cover.
All right. So International Women's Day will be at March 8th, and that's Sunday.
Yes.
And this is the theme of this year. Can you explain why this theme this year, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, that's a tough one, because we were discussing this before we came in, and I got quite irate, didn't I? There are two. There's one circulating, which is asking women to give more, and I need to just let people know that internationalwomensday.org website is run by a marketing company, and they're asking women to give, which I think in this year, and I'm speaking as a middle-aged woman with aging parents and 2 kids, I can't actually give much more. Do you know? No. And I think that's true for most people. In a year where we are seeing women's rights around the world rolled back in countries we didn't think it was possible. In the US, Roe versus Wade rolling back, the far right's doing the same, trying to do the same in the UK, which is where I'm based, and the horrors in Afghanistan. The UN Women's theme is absolutely spot on. It's like rights, justice, and action for all women and girls.
Yeah.
And what's good, if you look at all the charity work, say that if you look after the women and children, if you look after the women, everyone's okay, because they care for the rest of they care for the children, they care for the men. So it's like, take care of the women and everyone's taken care of. And we've got to do this because our rights are they're coming for them, and I'm not lying down for this one, Martijn.
No, you shouldn't. And I love this picture, because you mentioned what's happening in the UK, the abortion right, being endangered, that kind of stuff. That's horrible. Yeah,
it really is. So it's and I love UN Women. I'm doing an event with them. I'm doing a parallel event for the next week, which actually I think is open to everybody. I should post the link in the chat here, which is going to be around looking at what defunding, all the countries that have been chopping their aid budgets, and what that's meant for women in supply chains around the world. And we'll have speakers from DHL, the UN World Food Programme, and a supply chain. Someone who works in the supply chain side of training people for aid work.
No, and I have a wife and I have a daughter, so this resonates also to me, because this should, and
Everyone's got a mother.
Middle person.
almost
you're right. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's talk about what I usually come up with. What CEOs are talking about in their quarterly earning calls with analysts, the financial analysts, and this is one from Q4, and probably Q1 will look different because it's a shit show out there. It's a lot of turmoil in the world, etc. So basically, when you look at this, the more right you see, these are the phrases they are actually mentioning in their call. So supply chain is out there, has been out there since 2020. The yellow ones are more IT related, and we'll talk about it later, AI. And the red one are more risk related in a sense. And I have looked for it, and the only more HR related I would say is furlough. It's in the upper left. So if you look at this, what does this kind of overview saying to you, Melanie?
I find it interesting that you've got AI just both in the in the two top quadrants.
Yeah,
they're sitting up there. And the US government shutdown also quite fascinating.
Yes. It's mainly Fortune 500 companies out there, and I suspect that these are mostly male CEOs. So I was just, before we entered the webinar, I would be curious to see, what female CEOs would we talk about in their financial earning calls, or anyway.
I wonder if it just because we run so many, we've run so many surveys, voice of the profession research that we've done at Boom, and there doesn't seem to be that much difference based on gender on what they're discussing in the supply chain. Mm-hmm. But it'd still be interesting, even to know that there is no difference would be a great finding.
Yes. So a lot of themes you are discussing probably with your community. What are the most fundamental ones? The next one you are going to discuss? Oh, tomorrow you have one. You have an ad hoc session.
Tomorrow. It's all about, isn't it? Is resilience and adaptability, because things, you put it really spot on. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievably tough out there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely relentless what people in supply chain are dealing with. And it's touching absolutely everybody. And so tomorrow we're having an emergency session with our members just to talk about what impact people have already seen with the war in the Middle East, and what they're expecting to see, and just having a bit of a brainstorm. It's like, well, what can we do?
Yeah.
How's it going to impact us? What tactical things can we do to try and lessen the impact?
Yeah. So and I think the biggest bottleneck at this moment for all kind of managers, executive, is time. Where do I spend my time on? And I had a call with, I think, 6-7 supply chain directors, and we talked about disruptions, etc. And one of the supply chain directors said, we have an actual playbook when tariffs are changing, so we know what to do, who's responsible, what they can do. Can you preload? Can you use air cargo, that kind of stuff? So basically, they have written it down. So there are a lot of changes on tariffs. So things are changing, and Trump is changing overnight, etc. And then they know, okay, take our playbook, and everybody knows what to do, and they are allowed what to do, etc. So that's the thing. They have created disruption as a process.
Yeah, it's all you can do at the moment. And
yeah, but sometimes they don't have a playbook, and then it's same old again, like last year, and then you have to have the same kind of conversations, and maybe you already know what to do.
This is where my background in network modeling comes in. It's like, if you've got a live model, if you're lucky enough to have that center of excellence and a really great live model, you can break your supply chain and see what happens. It's a brilliant way to build that playbook up, shut down various bits of the world in turn. What do we do? And I don't, it's still, I know that's way, if we get onto the hype cycle, digital twins and network design is way in the past, but it's still not as mainstream as I would like to see it. And I think it has the value of being.
No, No, but then again, I see technology development very quickly. There are some tools out there where you can create a digital twin way easier than, say, 1 year or 5 years ago. So it's getting there. So, and you should embrace it.
So exciting. And you can talk to your model using AI, which is, quite frankly, living the dream.
Yes.
Because
yes.
that's half the battle.
But the thing is, some companies say we don't have time to embrace it. Spend a week on it, or a day, or an afternoon, whatever. But just look at it, have a look at it, and I think it will cost you time. And maybe you say, I don't have the time. But the ones who will spend some time with AI to look for how to create a digital twin, basically or not, whatever, they win. And I think that's the whole point here. Also AI will give you some new options you didn't have before.
Yeah, I mean, it's changing so. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. It's changing so ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
That hopefully there will be something that you can you can model your supply chain in. Usually, I'd say baseline at least 2 months, a month to 2 months to build a really good baseline.
Yeah.
If you can speed that up, I mean, just the power of it. And Thomas has just put in the chat that it feels like supply chains aren't progressing at meeting resilience goals.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear from my community. A lot of communities, you see people, we've been going back to cost cutting, which is absolutely, I understand it. I don't know a single company that's not going through a restructure at the moment, but you can't just go for cost cutting at the moment, because that way you're just going to go out of business. Is my belief anyway.
I got a remark in the chat, so that's fine. Please use the chat. I feel like we supply chains are not progressing in meeting resilience goals. Is this accurate from your perspective?
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, which is that there's a lot of focus on cost cutting, not resilience. And you kind of think from 2020 and COVID that, it was all about resilience, and we reverted very, very quickly as a profession back to cost cutting. And now we've kind of got to swing back towards that resilience. That is the way the world's going.
Yeah, I do agree. I think, we're going back in time. And I think, you have to have an assurance policy, and it will cost you something, money, time, or whatever. But you have to spend something to create this resilience, and to test some things, to create new scenarios. Sometimes it costs money, sometimes it costs time, whatever. But if you don't do that, you won't become resilient.
I think what's interesting is what CEOs are talking about in Q4 2020. I can't see anything around people there.
No,
I can't see, and this is something we see recession. I see grok, llama.
Yeah.
Just where's the bit about the people? Because we're talking about resilience. If you haven't got the resilient people, if you haven't got the amazing team that you're supporting,
no,
your supply chain's not going to make it.
And this is not about supply chain. This is about business. This is what CEOs are talking about.
Why are we not we always disconnect people from business, and I written a long blog about it, and it's a subject close to my heart. You can't and I was guilty of this myself. When I was designing my ideal supply chain back in my hardcore nerdy supply chain days, but I completely ignored the people part. And I say it often. I know I've said it to you before, Martijn, which is like, you can design the most amazing, sustainable, resilient supply chain, using the best technology, the most innovative. But if you haven't got the people on board, and you haven't got the good people running it, you're never going to realize the value of that. No. And I think as people, with all of these redundancies going on all over the world, you've got to invest in the people you've got left, because you're going to lose the good ones. And we're seeing that already. People are going, well, I'm not valued. We've got to invest in the people.
I don't have the time to invest in myself, to explore AI, so I'm going to leave. That's what I see. We get to the point, because I had some conversations about all that, But next, this is from a BCG Women in Tech Survey 2024. Seems outdated, but I still want to discuss it. The impact of Gen AI. The diversity game changer. What is, if you look at this, GenAI seems to be a superpower teammate. You are using Copilot at this moment, Melanie?
It's my best friend. I call them C. They're non-binary. Their name's C. And I'm using a lot of please and thank yous in case, you know, AI takes over. I want to have at least been polite when they are our overlords. So, yeah.
But, you know, code faster. And I think that that's something we should be aware of, because you know, technology has improved massively in the last 2 years since it was stated. And I think, you know, even though data cleansing is becoming now in sight with this kind of tools to some extent. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting. So we talked earlier about this session we ran last month with a speaker from Microsoft and from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the speakers just saying she's just so excited about it because it's it makes data more democratic, because she's never learnt to use a pivot table, and now she never has to.
Yeah.
You know, it's jumped, you know, the technology has just completely jumped for her. So, you know, people were saying, well, you know, are our jobs at risk? And she's going, you know, there were two things. Firstly, it's like, it's not people, AA is not going to come for your job. It's going to, you're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by someone who can use AI.
Yeah.
That was the first one. And then the second point was that the people whose jobs are most at risk are the coders, the programmers, probably, because you're going to be able to code. You know, I never got around to learning R and Python.
Yeah.
I don't need to now. So, and I just thought that was a really interesting insight.
Yeah. So I got a comment, you know, I've seen reports that auto coding like Vibe produces results that are too simple and error prone. Yes, I had a discussion yesterday about it, but if you have a simplified model that's workable, then it's fine. But then you go on to the last 20%. So the first 80%, that's fine, but the next last 20%, then you get in trouble. But, you know, maybe you should be already be happy with the first 80% if you have a network model, a basic one, to have a better discussion.
That's the pragmatic supply chain approach. 80-20, 80% is good enough. I've designed a lot of heuristics that are good enough. They're not perfect, but they're good enough.
And I've been using the 80-20 all the times with GenAI. You know, okay, do the reporting 80%, and the last 20%, it's up to me to shape it, to improve it, to make it more personal, to make some sense out of it, that kind of stuff.
But it also comes down to garbage in, garbage out. You know, I spent most of my supply chain career cleaning up data. So presenting it to people and then going, that's not my data. It's like, yes, it is. I go, okay, let me go and look at, there's just, you know, it's dirty data. So it's garbage in, garbage out. So even if you're coding, your auto coding might be good, but if the data you're putting into it's rubbish, it's, and, you know, that's always going to be a bit of a drawback to,
another thing, what you mentioned about the lady from Microsoft, you know, you are going to be replaced by a person who is using GenAI. I had a conversation with the supply chain director of a cosmetics company, fastly growing cosmetics company. You all know it, but I don't mention it. But basically, what he has done, he has trained all his supply chain people around the world, and basically they all have a KPI that in this year, they have to improve half a day. So basically, they have to have a productivity improvement of half a day. So, you know, look at your weekly schedule and carve out some activities, 4 hours in a week, by using or creating an AI agent. And everybody has his personal KPI to do this year. And I said to him, it would be interesting to see on a monthly basis who will be the first one to get there, and where do they find this in productivity improvement, and what do they learn from each other? If someone has met this target, how quickly will it be duplicated by others and to being included into a process? So that's quite interesting to see.
I mean, I have heard that from other organizations as well. And I recorded an interview with one of our members who works in procurement, and she's basically saves herself about 2 to 4 hours on every single contract that she has to review. So she'll read it, do the review, but then she has to translate it into, everyday speak, layman's terms. And she can just use that for AI. She'll have to go through and check it, but she's read it already. And she said, it's amazing, and this is what we all talk about. It's like the wonderful bit of AI is it frees us up to do the much more interesting work.
If you look at this report, it's from 2024, it stated that women look at it differently. Do you still think that's slightly differently? What do you say if you look at this stats?
It's interesting because I was listening to a podcast in preparation for this call with a woman called Zara Chatu. She runs Code for Good now. And she's, and I think we'll look at a slide later that says, fewer women are using AI than men because they feel like it's cheating. And I just thought, oh my goodness. And I do get that feeling sometimes when I'm like, okay, someone asked me to review an email. I put it through Copilot because it was going to be quicker. And I changed the bits here and there. And it did feel a little bit like cheating, but at the same time, it's made me so much more efficient in so many ways. So I'm surprised that it's biased towards women in that survey, because that's not what I've been seeing in other ones.
No. And I think, everybody using is ChatGPT, Copilot, or whatever. So everybody is cheating. And I think, and as of the output, you can see who has put in the last 20%. So the ones you are using only the 80%, automatically and send. Whereas the others, they have created some personal touch to it. You will see the difference.
Yeah, I should have shared it with you, and now we're talking about it. There's this lovely article that you can read. It was in a newspaper. It's a newspaper clipping that someone shared with me. It's a good article all the way down, and then you got the AI prompt at the end saying, "What else do you want to ask these questions next?" So it's like they really didn't do that extra 20% of just like proofreading their own copy. Yeah, it was a shocker.
Yeah. This is what if women are more prepared than men, is it still the case, or is it still?
No, this is what we're seeing with women feeling less prepared, and I see this. I've seen this data elsewhere, and if people want my sources, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share. Mm-hmm. And I love that comment from Zara, which is it's cheating, but this is where we come in, and we're talking about the digital gender gap. It's just like there are fewer women in tech, that women feel there are fewer women in STEM, and it all comes down to the digital gender gap.
Yeah. And maybe I had a conversation earlier this today, lunch with a female supply chain professional, and she said, it's quite common that females are only convinced that they could go for a new job if they score 10 out of 10, and men, they think 6 out of 10. The rest I will cheat on the job.
I'll be fine. So, I'm good enough.
Yeah. So that's also the thing. Women might think they are less prepared, but nobody knows what to do with AI.
No, nobody. I'm learning on the job, and it's fascinating, but it does come with a certain amount of confidence to do it. I find it fascinating talking to my mother. She just can't do it. She's 81, and it's just completely overwhelming to her, and that's a generational thing. Yeah. And that's going to be me 30 years, whatever. But it's a lack of confidence, and we could talk about the reasons for that and the societal reasons. I don't say women necessarily have less confidence. I do think we're kind of trained that way. But the key thing for this digital gender gap is just the lack of women coming into STEM subjects. So that's science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Yeah.
And the more women we get there, because AI has this amazing, it's it's like we were talking about earlier, it's like, it's this great to democratize data. Anyone can get the data. You know, you don't need to be a tech wizard anymore. You don't need to know how to use R or Python or whatever it is. So in some ways, it removes barriers. But at the same time, it also, you've got to have the confidence and the skills to be able to use it in that way.
Yeah. So someone in the chat said, I use the time to have more quality time using Gen AI to look over documents.
Yeah.
So basically, a lot of boring stuff is already done by Gen AI, and then you have time to review it, and then it's up to you. So it's a Kickstarter, and sometimes it's a huge Kickstarter if you go through contracts and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, but is it cheating? No, I say
no. It's learning. It's but you have to have that extra 20%, to delete the final comments. Do you want to know more, etc.
Yes.
And you always see this bars, whatever, these lines used by ChatGPT, and these icons, that kind of stuff. You've seen it a lot, and I'm getting bored of this Gen AI created illustrations with a yellow glow and that kind of stuff. All kind of similar, be creative, create something on your own, and then let it improve.
Long dash out. It's the long dash is such a giveaway. It's
the long dash, yeah, that's
the long dash out.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you have to ask ChatGPT, leave the long dash out, or if not, you have to do it yourself.
I keep asking, and they're still leaving it in.
Really?
Yeah, I need to get a bit more tough.
But that's your own extra 20%. You have to do it yourself, otherwise, you get lazy.
True, very true.
Yeah. So, hubs of AI innovation. So this is a new recent report that's from the World Economic Forum. We'll talk about it later, and the interesting findings. Basically, what it's saying, these are the countries who are more interconnected in using AI. So North America is North America. Probably it's US and Canada. They regard Mexico to it. So North America is on top, and Europe is next. So basically, it says, the percentage of economies in region participating to spend time on AI, on research, and R&D. So there's also a gap between other countries. That's what I take from this.
But that shows you where the digital gap comes in, and if we look beyond gender, but we know it's going to be of those people at the sub-Saharan Africa, Central Asia, it's most likely going to be fewer women accessing it even within that. So you're not getting those diverse voices training the AI. And this is how, if we don't get that diversity of thought, diversity of whatever it is, from where you are in the world, by age, by gender, by race, whatever it is, when AI, this is how we build the bias in.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at that saying, well, AI is mostly going to be, because it's being trained by its users, most of the voices are coming from North America than Europe.
Yeah.
So it's going to have that bias built in, which is going to be really annoying if you're in sub-Saharan Africa and Central Asia, because it's not going to have the voice from your region in it.
No, and basically, all these engines are trained by novels written by white male authors. So all these LLMs are trained by novels, and now a lot of mostly male authors. In history, most books are written by white male people, unfortunately. But the LLMs are trained by that.
It's also the users. It's who's sitting there with Copilot using it day in, day out.
Yeah.
Is it more men or women?
Probably men.
Is it more people from sub-Saharan Africa or from North America? Those are the more people use it, those are the voices you're going to hear more. It's because it's trained by those people, and you're going to hear whatever their inherent, view of the world is.
I've read a lot about Native Americans, and my wife has read way more than I have, and I've been to reservations in the US, and basically it's about talking, about storytelling. Don't write down that stuff. It's talking to each other through the ages, etc. But it's not in there. So how Native Americans live circularity, it's all ingrained in what they do and what they believe. It's not written down. So per definition, it's not in the LLMs, this kind of way of thinking.
Yeah. And there's a question in there is if the geolocation is impacted by relative wealth. It's like, yeah, I think we can safely, we can make that assumption. Also, having lived in sub-Saharan Africa for 8 years, it's like, it's really poor down there. Well, I mean, the mobile phone has been a great level of the smartphone. It's allowed a lot of people to bypass having a laptop. It's still not going to see the same uptake of AI just because it's fewer people sitting at desks working.
There's a question in the chat. I wonder if the geolocations are also impacted by relative wealth.
Yeah, that's what I was just just talking about. Hence the sub-Saharan Africa, fewer people with.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. The answer is yes.
Yep.
So now it's getting more into
Here we go.
The Gen AI gap. Jobs without AI skills affected by Gen AI, more women working in disrupted roles. So if you look at it, so on the left, augmented by Gen AI, it's helped. Disrupted by Gen AI, or neutral. That's the third bar. So when you look at this, what is your conclusion? What is your take on this?
My take on this is that more jobs affected by Gen AI affect women more because generally women are working part-time. Once you have children, the way society is constructed is that women need to be the main carer. They're going to be working part-time jobs in a more administrative role.
Yep.
Therefore, and it's those jobs, it's those repetitive jobs which are going to be the first to go. So it's a great time to be a plumber. It's true, and
there are more male plumbers than female plumbers.
Yeah. I'm talking to my kids. Job security, be an electrician or a plumber.
Yeah.
But that's to me what that says. It's depressing but true, and we can get on to the cost of childcare and affordable childcare, and that's going to be less true in countries which have higher equality indexes.
But even now, you don't have to have a lot of skills to use AI. So getting back to the phrase, you will be replaced by someone who is using Gen AI. So even if you are working in an administrative environment, if you are using AI, you have a better chance to remain in your job or to evolve your own job or whatever. I
totally agree with that. And that's what we were discussing last week. It's just like, there's so many free resources out there.
Yeah.
Because we've discussed it on Boom about, AI is a bit like boogeyman. It's coming, coming for your job, the big scary monster under the bed. And hence we got to it's not AI that's going to take your job, it's the person who can use AI. So it's a very easy one to get that nighttime monster, to get rid of it is just use it, play with it, enjoy it. And another piece of advice we got, this was from some other speakers, is they brought up 5 different AI tools.
Yeah.
So you can bring up Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever it is, bring them up, ask the same questions, each of them, and see what the path takes you down. I just keep putting in the same questions and see because then you can start to see, how has this been programmed? What's the bias here? How is it directing me? And it's a really nice way to play and learn at the same time. And the woman who was talking to me about that, she and her daughter were absolutely killing themselves with laughter, talking about ice cream. It didn't matter what it was. It's just, but each of the different models took them down a different path, and it was very instructional and also a lot of fun. And I think that's a great way to learn.
And even I use ChatGPT. I have a paid subscription. That's the public one, so scraping the internet or whatever. And at the same time, we use internally Copilot, and it's also ChatGPT in it. So sometimes I, ask both chatbots the same question. So one is in the public domain, and one is in the internal domain. You get different answers because the internal one is using all my documents internally.
Yeah.
It's on supply chain managers is way more intelligent. Whereas in the public domain, you will get interesting new insight, more diverse insight, because it's scraping stuff unexpectedly, and then they come up with different kind. And it's the same ChatGPT model, but trained in a different way. So even that is quite interesting to see.
It's quite fun because I put in, you must have read about, I'm sure people here have seen the reports saying, just the inherent bias that comes in when you ask for pictures from, what does a leader look like? And it'll usually be a middle-aged white man. And then I put, what does a leader look like into my, my internal Copilot. I got a black woman, and I'm terribly proud of them.
Yes, oh, cool.
I'm very proud of them. They did a good job.
Yeah.
And it's, and that's in some ways I feel like, oh, that's me doing my bit, because we all have to do our bit. That's the big, I'm sure we'll come onto this, but it's the biggest change we can bring when we're talking about eliminating biases. We need more women using AI.
Yeah.
And challenging the bias.
Yeah.
As we see it.
So the next is here. So there's jobs without AI skills affected by Gen AI. So this without engineering skills. No, that's the same one. No.
Is it the same one? It seems
No. It's different.
What's the one then? Explain.
Oh, gee. Blah blah.
Where are your notes?
Where are your notes? This is with AI engineering skills. So this one. So if you are trained, you are in a STEM environment. Sorry, that's what they said. Then there's a slightly disadvantage.
Interesting. Why? Did it tell you why in this report?
Yes, but I don't have it at hand. Yeah, it's somewhere here. But So basically, in general, it says that in an engineering environment, they are better trained, and maybe just getting back to that women feel that they are not well prepared compared to men. But in a sense, the bars are way lower, 20%, about 20%, whereas in the previous slide, it's roughly between 30 and 40%. So in the engineering skills, they think differently, tests and trial and error and test and that kind of stuff. So basically, in that environment, they think they are less disrupted.
Okay, interesting.
But it's minor. Maybe this is here you see it, and in the graph. But maybe we have more things to discuss here. So this is basically saying that in a trained environment, women are less at a disadvantage. But this is quite interesting to see. Now, these are several graphs. So these are the developments since 23 compared to last year, 2024. So here you see an actual gap, but the gap is closing. So basically, in the upper left, gaining AI skills will help me progress in my career. It's growing. Men is purple, green is women.
It's quite close, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you expect, this is 2024, if you have the same kind of figures, we don't have them, but 2025, will it be up to 100% or 80%? Or
It
do
would
you
be
expect?
massively different. It would be absolute, yeah. I'd say, I mean, it is extraordinary the way. So we talked about the digital gender gap for the first time. We ran an event in 2023.
Yeah.
We mentioned AI once in passing in 2023.
Yeah.
But we ran the event again in 2025, which is what a lot of my knowledge comes from. The entire event was talking about digital gender gap and AI. It's just like, and can you imagine now talking about digital gender gap and not mentioning AI? It's just impossible. So
No.
it's moving so fast that anything from 2024 just seems, you know, slightly like the dark ages.
Yeah. So in the second one in the middle top row, I'm currently using AI for my job. Yesterday I had an event and there was the same question asked. You know, I think 80 people were in the room. Everybody raised their hand. They are using AI in some sort of form.
I would expect that, especially with your audience. There's a lot of very skilled supply chain people. They're all going to be embracing it.
Yeah. But so it, you know, you did this webinar last year, but do you still think there is a gender AI gap?
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So sorry, but so, you know, I wrote it down. I wrote it down because my memory's not what it used to be. You know, digital gender gap refers to the unequal participation of women compared with men in digital and technology fields. And this includes AI, data science, software, and STEM. And it also includes that gap in access, adoption, and involvement in the design and governance of the tech systems. And I think that's a really interesting, something we haven't touched on so far, is just who are the people designing the AI? And from looking at the tech bros at the moment, my guess is they're just not, I mean, I know it's, I asked my friend C, and, you know, women make up 20, what is it? Let's say about 35% of STEM graduates are women. And we know as you go up through the hierarchy that drops. Have you got that there? Yeah, there you go.
But here, see, you know, the STEM
there
share.
aren't as many people. We haven't got the women at the table doing the designs.
No.
And therefore we're missing out in the products that are being developed. And we, you know, you and I have talked about this. You haven't got that diversity of thought. No. You're lacking. It's such a shame, and it's in some ways it's incredibly short-sighted, because one of the great benefits for having really inclusive, diverse groups is, one, it makes you more money, and two, it makes you far more innovative. So if you're building AI and you haven't got a massively diverse group in terms of gender, race, age, whatever it is, you're not going to have the best product. So it's in everybody's best interests, in whatever sector you're in, to have a diverse group. And yeah, we're still not there. Look at
so
that.
The next slide we will talk about, you know, the career ladder, etc. But talk about this, you know, share of women in non-STEM workforce, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that's the lighter green one. So the thing is, how do we get more women into STEM?
A lot of ways to do it. I mean, I think one of the big ones is role modeling, because there's statistics out there that show that up until I think about the age of 13, it's fairly even. Boys and girls all like really feel the same about STEM. And then it's sort of around 13, 14, which is a rubbish age anyway, when it really changes, and girls are systemically pushed out of STEM. And, you know, I know I'm getting on now, but, you know, I did a degree in maths, and I was told, while doing my degree, from boys on the course saying, you're a girl, you can't do maths. And it hasn't changed that much in the last 30 years. And it perpetuates, and you can see it, look at it. It's pretty much flatlining there. It's sitting, share of women is sitting at under 30%. We've got to change the narrative about who can do STEM.
So you know, I had this lunch with a female 33-year-old supply chain professional, and she said, I asked the same question to her, and she said, she was painting her fingernails yesterday, and maybe she thought about it. Maybe you should talk to girls of the age of 13, 40, whatever. Would you be interested to design a circular finger paint nail painting? And this is what you can do.
Yeah.
And so change the narrative. So talk about fingernail painting. How do you call it? So if you talk about it, this should be sustainable from biodegradable stuff, whatever. If you talk about that on Instagram, would you be willing to do that? And this is the way forward. So that's a totally different story on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's one approach. It's just, how do we role models? Like in the UK, we've got this brilliant scientist. She's all over the BBC, called Hannah Fry, and she's just absolutely awesome. She's really, really cool, and she's doing a really cool series that's just been released in the UK on AI, actually. And it's just like, that didn't exist when I was a child.
No.
And so it's just getting those role models through. I make a point, I will go in and talk at my kids' schools about maths and science and supply chain. I mean, lots of them don't want to hear it, but the point is, I'm going out there and I'm saying, look, I don't even mention gender. All I have to say is maths is really cool because.
Yeah.
And I haven't got actually, it's like I've got a great mug of women who've changed the world, which has got like Ada Lovelace, great mathematician. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and it's getting that message through. And this is what, and companies want it. They want that talent pipeline. It brings us back to people. Our conversation earlier about people is like, how do we get more people into supply chain, STEM? It's all part of the same thing. It's like, are we sending great role models in to talk at universities? Who could we be sending? And this is how companies can help. And you can have those conversations at home as well, and just highlight just amazing women as well as men who are out there changing the world through STEM.
Yeah. I'm very proud, to say that I have a daughter. She's 24 years old, and she's starting working at a fashion manufacturer and retail company last December, and in supply chain and in buying and planning, that kind of stuff, child's fashion. And within a month, she was appointed as AI captain for her category. And I'm so proud, and that she, basically, she's very good in communication, etc. And she's, supply chain is her thing, etc. But I'm very proud to say that he's appointed as AI captain as a young person. And that's cool.
It is cool. I mean, the other one, because I talked about her earlier, which is Zara Chatu. I'll put her LinkedIn in the. She's running Code for Good now. So it is all about, you can find her on, did that work? No, I've lost you all. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
If you can find her on LinkedIn, she's looking at coding. There's a lot of things for coding for girls, and just advocating for more equality and inclusion across it. She's ex-Meta. She worked at Meta for 15 years and now started off her own. So, pretty damn impressive. I did try and get her on here, Martijn, but she was busy. So,
maybe some other time, and maybe we're going to do an interview with her. But the thing is, getting back to getting more people into supply chain at an earlier stage, or in STEM, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is, AI is all about mathematics. It's all about patterns, and have to know statistics. A lecturer yesterday told me, that mathematics is not longer part of the curriculum in some supply chain educational courses here in the Netherlands. Come on, no mathematics and no statistics. I mean,
Yeah, I'm horrified, but I am massively biased in that way.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is normalizing AI and digital literacy in schools. It's got to come in. I had a great example from I think it's a university in the States, where their lecturer asked them to go away and write their homework using AI. He said, go away, write it using AI, and then pick it apart for me.
Mm.
And that's that critical thinking, which we know is something that's where, you know, everybody really values in next gen talent, and that is often missing. So, you know, that's a lovely way to bring it in. Use AI, get comfortable with it, and then pick it apart and try and break it and show the flaws. So
Basically, that's the 80-20 rule, you know, use it, and then the 20% of the time, you know, depict it or whatever. So this is, you know, the last slide before we have maybe some time for a Q&A. But anyway, so this is, you know, the career path, and here's still a gap. And how should we change this? And is AI helping, you know, the women using AI, getting more comfortable?
I think women using AI helps close the digital gender gap. It makes a massive difference, because the digital gap is, if you can use AI, it does close, because, as I said, it's democratized the data, so you can get your answers more easily. Realistically, if we talk about the biggest barrier to women and any minority groups making it up to the C-suite level is actually C-suite. And there's a lot of academic research showing us the single biggest barrier to equality is the C-suite, because they set the culture for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And if C-suite is on board, if they get it and they're behind it, you know, there's some companies who are doing this really well. I love what they're doing. Like Coca-Cola in the UK is brilliant. Dow is brilliant. Estee Lauder, Roberto Campari, I'm sure you know, you know, they do this brilliantly. And if you've got those leaders, they make the single biggest thing, because if they're not into it and they're undermining it, it's not going to take.
You know, I had a conversation like the other day, you know, companies who are stating AI first versus business first. Do you think that companies who are stating AI first are the ones who are, well, crushing this barrier, or is it a male phrase, AI first?
Sorry, say that again. I need to get my head around that.
So basically, you know, I see some companies say AI first, and other companies say no, business first and then use AI. And I think, to my point, I think a lot of male CEOs are talking about AI first. And I don't know if that's an environment where you think the gender gap will be closed.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that that's sort of Amazon and companies like that. It's like you are measured on how many AI tools you're creating and using, and how successful they're doing, and the uptake there. I mean, I'd say, actually, what about people first? I don't like either of those, quite frankly, because you know, if we go people, profit, planet, I think you look after the people and the planet, the profit comes. And we know this, again, shed load of research showing,
yes, people
you
first.
look after the people, you create that inclusive environment, your company will thrive. And there's so much research showing, you know, companies with more inclusive, with more diverse C-suite earn 20% more revenue. I mean, it's extraordinary, the numbers. If it was AI, people would be shouting about it and adopting it, because it's around inclusion, gender, and race, the things that are easy to see. It's not picked up on so much.
So it's people first, then business, and then AI.
I think business and AI. Do you have to separate the two at all? Really?
Okay, good point.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
We have 1 minute left, so I don't know if we have a real time for questions, because I also want to wrap it up. So, what is the main message you want to get across?
I think there are a few things. We need to get more diverse voices using AI. So if you're a bit nervous about it, just go out and play. There are loads of free courses which are really, really good. From a business point of view, there needs to be more governance around this. because we have all these compliance. We have compliance for so many things in supply chain. AI compliance and checking for bias has to be there. And this is, I can point at Colgate Palmolive do this really, really well. So we've got to be checking. We cannot assume that our AI tools are coming with bias. So when you're talking, from a procurement point of view and you're buying software, these are the questions that should be making onto your list of questions for the suppliers. It's like, what are you doing to address bias in your software?
Yeah.
I think that's something we can all do.
No, good point. And we're going to wrap it up. So this is also from last year. So basically, we have created a checklist about diversity. It's not about AI, but in diversity in general, based on a lot of academic research. Harvard has done a lot of research on this, and it's all stated and summarized actually in 10 painful questions, I would say. Next, this is your report of 2024 about AI, but you have done a lot of more, and soon you will open up different streams for not just the female supply chain professionals, but all of them. So that's good to know. I will be there briefly after this. So, and maybe Melanie, just say hi.
I'm coming for a while, but then I've got to go and see my friend Judy Gillard.
Yes, way more important. And then, for all the people listening, either live or recorded, thank you for listening in. Thank you for the chat, and I hope you have a interesting conversation with Melanie and myself, and take it forward. And these lessons mentioned by Melanie, we have to share more, and we'll write about it. So thank you for now. And I would say, maybe I see you right after this in the virtual lounge. If not, maybe I see you next week. We talk about scope 3 and sustainability. Also very important. Might be fading away, but it's very important. So thanks for now. Melanie, thanks again. As always.
Martijn, always a pleasure.
Thanks for now. And I would say bye-bye.
Bye.